Joined by Gavin Sheets, Gavin Crawford Sheets. Who's the Crawford after?
My grandfather, my dad's dad. So it's a family name, and if I have a boy at any point, his middle name will be Crawford as well. Yeah, we're gonna keep in the family.
I love it. All right, you grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Jackson Merrill said earlier this year, Maryland guys are built different. Would you agree with that, and why?
Absolutely. I think there's always an edge for us baseball guys from Baltimore. It's just not many guys play baseball. It's definitely a football, lacrosse, basketball city town, and we're kind of the few guys that chose baseball and made it a job and are still doing it today. So, there's few of us, but we all know each other and support each other for sure.
I think that's so cool. Did you play any other sports growing up, or was it always baseball?
Yeah, I played football and basketball. Football for a little bit, played basketball. I enjoyed playing it, and obviously the winters get pretty harsh there, so shuts down anything outdoors, which I think is great. I think playing multiple sports is awesome as kids, and I think you just burn out if you play baseball for too much.
So were you Orioles, Ravens, and crab cakes growing up?
Absolutely, and nothing else. I mean, that's all there is, right? So it's still the Ravens and Raven football and crab cakes. That's what Baltimore does. So definitely stay true to that.
I love that. I love that. Is that still home for you?
It is. It is. My wife and I bought a house there, and so we're just outside the city, and yeah, absolutely love it.
All right, well, anybody who might not know, your dad played in the major leagues 8 seasons. When did you first realize, hey, my dad was in the show?
Yeah, so he wasn't playing when I was born.
He was already out of the league.
Yeah, he was out of the league. But I got to go to Camden Yards with him all the time. He would do sponsored events and just kind of seeing the excitement that people got when he would show up. Obviously not knowing that I knew he played, but not being alive when he was playing, but just seeing the excitement that they had and hearing old stories about him. That was always really cool to me as a kid. Obviously you look up to your dad no matter what, but just seeing the way the city rallied around him and got to do some pretty cool stuff with him.
I'm always fascinated by the relationship with professional athletes and their children. Was he hands-on, hands-off? Did he push you toward baseball? How did that all work and come about?
Yeah, he was super hands-off in terms of pushing me. He let me decide what I wanted to do. Obviously, I had a huge love for baseball growing up around the game and going to the ballpark and seeing Camden Yards and being like, this is what I want to do. But he never pushed me. It was always me asking him to go hit or me asking him to go throw, and he was always all for it. I mean, that's what he wanted. He wanted me to come get to him and say, hey, I want to go hit or I want to go throw. And so that was always really cool for him to do was allow me to make that decision. And I think that's why I really love the game.
And he was roommates with Padres hitting coach Victor Rodriguez when he was in the Orioles organization. So was that just an extra added comfort when you came here?
Absolutely. They just saw each other in Pittsburgh last week when we were there, so they hadn't seen each other for about 30 years or 40 years. So they were hugging it out, and we all went to lunch. So I felt like I was chaperoning the lunch, just sitting there and letting them tell stories to each other and laugh about the good days. But no, that was awesome. And obviously, Victor treats me like family, and I've played against him for a couple of years when he was in Cleveland and I was in Chicago, and just having a familiar face here has been awesome.
I would imagine that was like one story after another.
Oh my gosh, just one after another. I was just sitting there, just felt like a supervisor, just like, you guys have your fun. Whenever you guys are ready to go, we'll go.
I'll drive you kids out of here.
Exactly. I'll take the kids, I'll get the bill, and we'll go whenever it's done. So, no, it was awesome, though, to see the enjoyment that they had.
That is awesome. I always think that there's obviously positives when you are the son or a daughter of a professional athlete. You're around the game. You hear all the stories. You have some comfort with it. But then there's also sometimes, I think, an unfair expectation maybe for the kid. Did you ever experience that? And was that ever something you thought about?
Yeah, I think you always experience it as a kid, especially in Baltimore. He coached our high school too, so I think that right or wrong, there's always those expectations that are around it. I think he handled it well, and I think I handled it really well in terms of just you can't control any of that. It's just control what you can control, and use it as an edge if you want. But we just kind of ignored it, which was nice.
Do you get like texts from him every night or after a big game or anything?
Yeah, well, now with the time zone, I usually call him the next day. He'll never really be the first one to reach out. It's usually me calling him, and we'll just talk about the game. What the at bats were, who I faced that night before, and he appreciates what we're doing now, just with the pitching and everything going on. It's just he talks about, man, that guy last night was really tough. So it's just nice having that sounding board and understanding how hard this game is.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Unless you're in it, you really don't know, right? Okay, you got drafted 2014 by the Braves. You decided not to go and play professionally, and you went to Wake Forest University for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, which is one of the best names ever. Why did you forego playing professionally for the college experience?
Yeah, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go to pro ball. I physically wasn't ready. I mentally wasn't ready. And, my dad did that route out of high school, and he explained to me how tough it was. And, it was always a dream of mine before playing pro ball was to play in the ACC. And so to get an offer from Wake Forest and a couple other teams, but, more importantly, Wake Forest, I knew that's where I wanted to go. And it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Did it also give you the college experience that, I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
do you regret it at all?
No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It was 3 best years of my life, and met my wife there, and so it just, yeah, it was an experience that I would have never traded.
All right, well, then you get another shot. You get drafted again, right? This time it was 2017 by the White Sox. You missed the whole 2020, just like a lot of other guys, because of COVID, which I think is important. I mean, it was a whole year that you guys lost of development, but you make your debut in 2021. Do you remember who you got your first hit off of?
I do. Kenta Maeda. Yep.
And then your first RBI, your first extra base hit, your first run scored. The next day, I believe, your first major league home run. Later that season, you're on the postseason roster. You hit a home run there too. Your first few months in the big leagues, what are you thinking? I mean, is it kind of like, I belong?
Yeah, it was a dream. Coming up into a team that was first place in the division and playing winning baseball, and getting to come up and play for Tony La Russa, Hall of Fame manager, and just every day was just an absolute blessing. And I had so much fun with that. And my dad always told me, because he played 8 or 9 years, and he never played in the postseason. So he's like, you can't take this for granted. You never know when it's going to come back again. And just enjoyed every second of it. But to be in the postseason and to play for a team like that was incredible.
Your next few years, obviously tougher, right? And tougher production-wise. How would you explain what happened those few years?
Yeah, it was tough. 2022 we were right in the mix of things, and then Tony left because of health problems at the end of that year, and him and I were really close. And 23 and 24 was kind of a whirlwind for me personally, for us as an organization, Chicago, and I definitely lost my love for baseball a little bit. It just became a dark cloud showing up to the ballpark every day for multiple different reasons. And it was hard. It was hard to produce. It was hard to think about, is this still what I want to do? And that was something that took a step back from this off season and got my love back for baseball. And coming here is a true blessing.
I mean, I think it's important to talk about a little bit, because I feel like everyone goes through it in their career or their life at some point. And did you think about, hey, do I want to step away from the game? Do I want to stay in the game? Like, what were those days and those conversations like with yourself or with your dad or whoever you leaned on?
Yeah, you just you really got to figure out why you play this game. Is it for the love of it? Is it to do it as a career? Is it what is it? Provide for your family? And for me, it's always been the love of the game. I've never done this for the money or for anything. It's just because I love playing the game. And that was the hardest thing for me, was kind of losing that love. And once I started to lose that love, and then you're just doing it for a job and doing it to make money, and it's like, this isn't what this is about. And that was the hardest thing for me. And that's what. Unfortunately, a lot of guys there were feeling the same way, and it was just a tough atmosphere. And to this off season was definitely a time to find somewhere where I can get out of that and get back to playing for the love of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't separate what was happening with the White Sox during that time, which was a lot of losing, and you've always been so respectful about all of that. But I can only imagine, as a human, it has to impact you guys, you and your teammates, at some point.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think coming up to in 21 and 22 and just seeing. It's such an incredible city to play baseball. Chicago was awesome. Absolutely loved Chicago. I loved the fan base, and just seeing how quickly everything changed. That was really hard too. Just the way the culture changed, the way the place changed. A place that I loved showing up at the ballpark, all of a sudden just turned into a place that I almost despised. And that was tough for me. That was tough for I felt bad for the fan base. I felt bad for the city, because I had seen it at its best. And that was hard.
How did you pivot? How did you get back to where you started to love the game again, or wanted to get back to work to love the game again?
I think the biggest thing for me was coming somewhere where every single night you wanted to win. You were finding any way to win. It wasn't about individual statistics, or it wasn't about what am I going to do for myself that night. It was about how are we going to win baseball games and how are we going to do this as a team. And this has been exactly what I hoped. It was my goal in the offseason was to find a team that wanted me, and two, that I felt was a good fit. But the main thing was somewhere that wanted to win, and it's exactly what we have here.
What did you gravitate to with this organization that made you feel like this is what I do want?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was my conversations with Schilt. I just talking to him and hearing the way he runs his team, hearing the way he loves his guys, hearing the way that he wants his clubhouse to be, and And also hearing that, one of his biggest mentors was LaRussa, somebody that I had a really close relationship and who did things the right way. And, I just knew that familiarity would be there right away, and had some really good conversations with Tony LaRussa as well. And this offseason.
Yeah.
And, he kind of, everything that I felt about Schulte was kind of what he reiterated. And so, there were some other teams that were definitely in the mix, but the whole time I was getting pulled this way.
Yeah, and we've heard Tony La Russa say that you're a player that a team can win with. And yesterday, Manny was talking about you, about how they had always seen you from afar and knew the talent that you had. What's that part of it been like for you, just the adjustments that you've made this season?
Yeah, it's been huge. I think that, working with these guys here and working with all the hitting coaches and the biggest thing, too, is just the confidence that they instill, whether it's Schulte, whether it's the teammates, whether it's, Manny and Toddy and these guys around me. And but just the confidence that they instill on a daily basis, making you feel like, you're the best. And there's something to that. There's absolutely something to that, whether it's swing, obviously made swing changes here that are fantastic and have truly worked. But, just the confidence that in the room around you, that's been one of the biggest things.
Did you get in the Point Loma Nazarene biomechanics lab over the offseason? And
No, I did not.
No, you did
I
not.
did not.
That's a rumor, you know.
We have some biomechanics people. We have some biomechanic people here that, we have our own stuff that they look at the numbers and can track all that stuff. But, that was one of the things in spring training that we worked on, some biomechanics stuff that we saw and some of the data, and yeah, took off.
How hard is it, like when you're a hitter, to not over tinker, but tinker enough to try to find that feeling?
That's the thing. I think you use the numbers, but you also use the feel. So it's a little bit of that both thing. So it's, they brought some numbers to me and some positions that they thought that would really help me if I got into, and then it was about finding what made it comfortable. How do I get in these positions? How do I make this data, click? And that's what they were really good about, was giving me the numbers, but also giving me the feels and help me through that. So yeah, it was a great combination.
All right, besides baseball, what else is important to you in your life?
Oh man, family. My faith is huge to me.
Yes.
I love, in the off season, I love being outdoors, hunting, fishing, golfing.
Nice.
So yeah, keep it pretty simple. But yeah, in the off season, it's getting outdoors as much as possible, being with my family, and yeah, resetting.
I heard you say in an interview that baseball was never going to be like your main thing. And I thought that I know that has a link to your faith as well. But just talking to Jose Iglesias a few weeks ago, he talked about how sometimes you put on the uniform and you lose a few degrees of life. Is that something that your dad kind of instilled in you too? That you just the game is big, but it's not the only thing.
Absolutely. That's always been whether no matter how high or how low you're going, baseball is not your identity, and it should never change who you are as a person, what your morals are, what your everything that's important to you should never change from baseball. And it's easy to happen. It's something that we do every single day. It's high pressure situations. It's our careers. But I think for us that, we want the fans to know too, like we're people, we're human beings. As soon as we leave the ballpark, we go back to being dads, husbands, sons. And that's huge to us.
Very well said. First job you ever had?
Oof. Yeah, it was actually probably working my dad's summer camps, working his summer baseball camps. He put me straight to work with that, and I'd help out with some. He had a company with that had like arcades and batting cages and stuff. So I would work there as well, work the snack bar and stuff. So yeah, it was always working for him in some capacity.
Concessions action, I like that. Any superstition or routine that you have to do?
Before every game, I put my left sock on first. It's started something stupid, and I'm like, well, you're gonna keep doing it. But other than that, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, nothing else other than that.
Are you a lefty writer also?
I am. Everything lefty. Yeah, my right hand is basically useless.
Are you gonna take up any of the guys with golf?
Absolutely. Yeah, I always accept their challenges, accept their money, whatever they want to do on the off days. I'm in for it.
We've obviously heard the Holy Sheets chant, which is awesome in itself, right? But I can only imagine that growing up, people had some fun with your last name. What were some of the nicknames that you would hear over the years that you still hear?
Yeah, you hope it's all positive because it can go negative real quick with my last name. So as long as it's positive, I'm all for it. Obviously, the Holy Sheet stuff here has been incredible. A lot of fun, just to be brought in by this fan base so quickly. But a lot of sheetsy and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. I've heard the negative sides of it as well. So yeah, we try to keep it on the good side.
I haven't heard any of the negative ones.
No,
We're gonna keep those out of there. Yeah, keep those out of there.
Much better the way it is now.
Okay. What's your meal of choice?
If I'm in Baltimore, I'm going crab cakes.
Yes.
Nowhere else though. I don't do crab cakes anywhere other than Baltimore.
This is a true Baltimore native right here.
I'm stubborn. No matter where I go, it's not the same. But if I'm not, barbecue. I love barbecue. Yeah.
Gavin, thanks for letting us get to know you. Appreciate it. Continued success for you out there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.